Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, introducing you to my Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Beginner's Guide to Master Ninja Mode, and this is the second section to Vengeful Spirit. So we just use the Griffin key there, and you'll notice that I'm not pressing A to continue the game. So I probably should edit those moments out, but they can be really difficult to see in the timeline when I'm going through them, and when it's such an extensive guide like this, and it does take a lot of time to edit, so I do miss moments like that. And the explanation behind them is I never ever play video games these days unless I'm in a party chat, or if it's a new experience, with the original game's sound on. I'm the type of guy that I need a TV program, a film, a podcast, a show. I need anything in the background that I can watch and I can listen to while I play. Because if I don't necessarily get bored. My body just doesn't feel like it's firing on all its cylinders, and I've got so used to this constant feed of input that when I don't have it, it's not as enjoyable for me. So that's a lot of the things that I do. And a lot of you might be thinking that when you don't have the sound, the games can become more difficult and timing things can be more challenging and you can't hear the audio cues, and I'm all with you there. It is not the smartest way to play, it's just a habit that I'm in at this moment in time, and hopefully I'll get over it at some point, but it's just one of those weird niches that I occupy for some reason, as I get my ass kicked by the ghost fish. But the Ghostfish strategy is the same, just do the 5 squares with the Tiger Fang and Dragon Claw. It is easily the most, useful combo against the fish. The flails are really good as well, but I do think the iframe exploit with the flails is harder to do than the one with the Dragon Claw, so that's just my preference. But this is going to be a labyrinth of items to pick up and encounters with Ghostfish, and a couple of cats and a couple of crabs. And this is one of those levels that commits a cardinal sin of game design, in my opinion. And I may have said this before, so I do apologise if I have, because this is the second time I'm doing this commentary, because my laptop crashed about 10 minutes into it, and there you go. I lost everything, and thus have to do it again. But it makes you fight enemies before a boss fight, in between the save point and the actual door that leads to the boss. And when you try and skip the enemies just to go through the door, it often doesn't work, and you'll sometimes get beat up a lot. And you go into the boss fight with less than full life, and this is never something you want to do on these games, unless you're using the unlaboured flawlessness, or you're an absolute monster on the controller. But right here is a safe spot against the cats. If you stay up on this balcony, they can't attack you, and you can use the derby to just charge ultimate techniques and hit them. But you've got to time it correctly when they're wall running, and it's as soon as they come out of the wall run, you can generally hit them. And you'll see me try it there. And sometimes you will get lucky like I did just then, but this is easily the safest way to do this encounter. You don't have to do it, but I would recommend it, unless you want to get down there and start kicking some ass, because the cats are a fun enemy to fight, but they're also a bastard enemy because they'll knock you out of the sky, they'll grab you. They're hard, but it's a legitimate challenge. It's not a bullshit challenge, and that's why I do love this game. But I've just finished recording my Devil May Cry 3 guide on Dante Must Die difficulty, and it's a game that gets compared to Ninja Gaiden in a lot of ways because it's notorious for being a very difficult game. And as far as my experience with these two series is, I've played Devil May Cry 10 times the amount I've played Ninja Gaiden, so by default I am better at those games. But I used to think that Ninja Gaiden was harder when I played Devil May Cry, and then when I started playing Ninja Gaiden I started thinking Devil May Cry was harder, and it's one of those things that I think the only reason the other series seems difficult is because you lose the habit of playing it. When you don't play something for a while, you don't have that same touch. You lose your subtleties with it, and you become rusty as a gamer. And you go back, and sometimes it comes back to you when you get even better. Other times it takes a while to come back, and you can't quite get back into the flow of it. But they're both difficult in equal regards. But right now, like fucking Devil May Cry 3 on Dante Must Die. If you've never played it, it is bullshit. It is so much bullshit. Like, the jump from the difficulty before it to Dante Must Die is nuts. It's just fucking nuts. And there's a boss called Geryon that's not a difficult boss, but I just kept messing it up. And a lot like the boss strategy for Alma's awakened form that we just killed. The technique to beat her is as simple as it comes. You do, a few set moves, and if they hit, you win. But very similar to the Alma fight, I just couldn't hit the thing with it, and it kept touching me, and as you know in these games, if you touch an enemy, it does damage to you, and on Dante Must Die, it's like 2/3 of your life bar. It's not, you know, minuscule damage. It's really bullshitty, but if you follow my channel, you'll learn all about that when I go into detail on that video, because I fucking hated that fight. It was the longest boss fight on that guide, and it's just one of those bosses that I personally hate, and hopefully you'll enjoy that video. But this section here from the save point you've just seen, all the way to this corner that I'm about to go to, is a fantastic area to farm ghostfish for essence. And what happens to them is, they will eventually stop spawning when you attack them, but if you go around the corner and come back, they will respawn in the same phalanx of enemies that you just took out. So you can just indefinitely kill ghostfish and get as much money as you need. And you might be wondering, why would I want to do that, Chris? Well, if you want to upgrade all your weapons early, if you want to buy items and replace the ones you've used, if you're not confident in your ability to fight and you want to rely on items, you can buy those. And it's just comforting knowing that you've got the ability to be cheesy if the game won't let you win. And that's what I use it for. But I would also advocate not farming essence, because I do think it makes the game a little bit more challenging and it will make you learn it a lot better. Like, I would never ever farm essence on any other difficulty than the hardest one, because there's no need for it. And for instance, Ninja Gaiden 2, if anybody played it, a lot of the forums that you can check out these days, because a lot of people wanting the achievement for beating Master Ninja but not willing to put the effort and the time into doing so, they're all fascinated by how much they can farm essence to get everything early and get all the weapons super buffed to make the game easier. And I beat the second one on Master Ninja and I didn't farm essence whatsoever, and it was difficult, but I beat it and I learnt it and I got past. And I don't know why you would, because the funny thing about this game is, a lot of the moves that you're going to be using throughout are moves that you get pretty early on the weapons. So I don't know why they would want to have all their other the weapons that they're probably not going to use up to level 3. Because it does increase the base damage, which is understandable, but a lot of the times when you die on these kind of games, it's because of you, it's not because of your weapon. It's because you didn't handle the situation the correct way. And, you know, upgrading isn't going to change that if you don't know how to fight. It's one of those strange situations. But here is the Muramasa statue. There's this one, and then there's one in Tyrone where you can go through the opposite side of this area, and they are the only Muramasa statues next to this area we're going to be going into. And this is effectively the last third of the game, because we're going to be going towards the final palace area, and the lovely gauntlet of bosses on Chapter 18, sorry. Which, if anybody doesn't know, it's 3 bosses in a row with a couple of enemy encounters, and there is no checkpoints. So if you've been wondering while you've been following this guide, yo Chris, what's your hardest section of the game in your opinion? Well, it's coming up. It's coming up big time. And it's funny because the bosses themselves aren't that challenging. The only reason they're difficult is because you don't fight them on other difficulties. You have no practice against these bosses, and they throw them at you on Master Ninja where they're at the most dangerous. So it's not cool really, but the final guy is the same person you've been fighting all the way through the game, called Marbus. And I have a really sloppy fight with Marbus because, you know, I haven't fought him that often, so I didn't know his pattern. But when I've been doing some of the challenges in the mission mode, I've fought him quite a lot now, and I've learned that there is a much easier way of killing him than the one I express in this little guide. But as you've heard previously, these were all my first takes against the bosses, so the first time I beat them, that's the one I captured, that's the one I kept. I did not cherry pick any of these gameplays, so thanks for watching guys, I hope it's helping, and you take care now.